Ask me any Amazon question. We'll be going live in under 5 minutes. The My Amazon Guy Ask Me Any Amazon Question. Type your question into the comments section right now. Are you ready to ask me any Amazon question? Going live in under 1 minute. Ask me a PPC question, SEO, design, catalog. It's my passion to help the Amazon community, and I'm here to answer your questions. Welcome to the My Amazon Guy podcast. My name is Stephen Pope. I'm the founder of My Amazon Guy. Today, we're going to be talking about pricing. We're bringing the leading expert on pricing into the conversation. I'll have him join now. Welcome to the show, Mr. Chad Rubin. How are you doing, Chad? You're on mute. I don't actually hear you. So we'll get that audio configured here in a second.
Boom. Can you hear me?
Now I can. All right.
All right,
Welcome.
cool. Thankful to be here.
Well, cool. So, Chad, you have a company that has cracked the sauce, as they say, on how to figure out how to price an item on Amazon. So, for our consumers watching today, Chad's going to be talking about some of his past experiences. He's an Amazon seller. He's going to give some pricing hacks and tips on how to do things yourself. And if you guys want to check him out, he's got his own pricing company as well. So, Chad, what else would you like to add?
No, I think that's a great start. I've been in ecom for 15 years. I'm wearing a hat to sort of hide all the hair loss and all the mistakes I've made. But Profasee is a result of making tons of mistakes and sort of dog fooding. So long story short, I sold Stubana and Prosper Show, started Profasee, and really to solve my own pricing issues of my e-commerce business. And I would love to share a lot of my learnings today.
Well, welcome. Chad and I have met each other at conferences. We've had lots of conversations on the phone, troubleshooting business stuff. Both Chad and I are in the entrepreneur organization, and we're masterminding a couple of cool subjects and business trouble. So, all right. So with the intro out of the way, Chad, let's jump right in. Can you please tell me why is pricing on Amazon such a challenge? And why are people like not wanting to slay this dragon and not even think about it?
Yeah, so pricing is a challenge because nobody's doing it. Nobody is changing pricing. Everyone's focusing most of their time on ad spend and forgetting about fundamentals. And pricing is sort of the biggest lever you can be pulling. You know, that old saying, small levers swing big doors. Well, pricing swings a massive door and nobody's pulling it because nobody actually knows what is the optimal price. Because there's something in Amazon called a knock-on effect, right? The price today affects your orders tomorrow. It affects your BSR, your discoverability, your conversion rate. And so nobody actually knows what is the sweet spot. And it leads to a lot of mistakes as well. And that's really why we built Profasee.
So if we had to think about starting this pricing conversation, where's the best place to start it? Like how do people fundamentally need to begin the pricing conversation?
So, I mean, if you want to do it, so there's the manual way and there's the AI way, right? There's the automated way. And so for starters, I would probably create a part of my organization, my Amazon company, even my L10 meetings around pricing KPIs, right? And having a discussion around centralizing data, creating a committee around pricing, because pricing influences marketing, ad spend, finance, and your EBITDA at the end of the day. Everything flows from pricing. So as
everything
you start to
flows from pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me more.
Yeah. Well, pricing is the top of your P&L, right? It's the first thing people see on the SERP page. And so when you're figuring out, I mean, it's one of the first things, right? You see FBA, you see your price, you see the stars of your reviews, but pricing is sort of the genesis. It's almost like, in my opinion, the domino effect that flows through and touches many other parts of your org chart.
Why?
Why does it touch other parts of your org chart? Well, finance, for example, like if you're meeting with your controller, your CFO, depending on what size of company you are, or even bookkeeper, when you're looking at your P&L, your revenue drives your profit. And so getting revenue right and getting your sales right and making profitable revenue is, especially right now in the times that we're in, which are trying times for a lot of Amazon brands, is a top priority. Ad spend is another example, right? Ad spend, your ACOS formula, what you spend to what you make, right? Well, everyone's touching what you spend. And there's a lot of businesses and agencies that are built around what you spend, but that's only that's only part of the story, because PPC spend and your revenue go together. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. So,
but Jeff Bezos says, I just need to have a really low price on Amazon and I'll be making lots of money.
Sure. I mean, Amazon does want you to have the lowest price. guaranteed, and like Profasee, we built in suppression monitoring built into it. But it's not just about their psychology of pricing, right? There's a lot of other things that happen, like changes that you make on Amazon don't happen in a vacuum. Like you're competing with many other people for a specific keyword, and those keywords and those competitors and those listings have an effect on your own listing and vice versa.
So I can't just go to market, undercut everybody else, and race to the bottom? A little
I mean,
more
I guess
complicated than that?
so it is a lot more complicated than that. Uh, yeah. So for us, our sole mission is to maximize your profit without sacrificing your BSR on Amazon, your competitive position on Amazon. We haven't built, at least right now, in the stage that we're in as a company, we haven't built like something that maximizes your BSR. That's just not where we're focusing our time and energy, because we are focusing on profit.
So does that mean just raise my prices 10% every 5 days and see how my BSR manages it and pull back if I need to?
So, I mean, look, I think during this, so we're experiencing probably the most significant inflationary period we've ever experienced as a country. And a lot of,
There's no inflation. The government says there's only 8% inflation, Chad. Everything's going to be fine.
yeah, that's the reported number. That's like Amazon showing you what you make. They don't show you what you keep at the end of the day. So a lot.
1984.
I think there's just a lot of. First of all, there's a lot of reckless information there about pricing, because pricing is really hard. It's hard to get right. It's very easy to talk about, but it becomes pretty messy on Amazon. And I think there's a lot of misinformation, and pricing isn't one size fits all, which is why I think testing pricing and experimenting with pricing is so important. Whether you use Profasee or not, it's actually just testing price and calibrating your price based on different sessions, different conversion rates, and what's going to drive the intention that you set for a specific product that you want. So if my intention, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so our expert today, Chad Rubin, and he's talking about pricing. So if you guys have pricing questions today is your podcast. Pricing topic. How do we make more profit or increase our sales velocity by going lower? And how do we balance between the two? All right. So Chad, you were just saying?
I lost my train of thought, but essentially it's calibrating your price at the right time to the perfect buyer at the right time to maximize your intention. So for us, we work with sellers whose intention is to know that they're leaving money on the table and to set up their intention to maximize profit without sacrificing your discoverability. So going into it, you have to know your intention.
So what kind of seller should be focused on pricing, right? So we got a question coming in from News World. Hey, not getting sales, listing optimization has also been done, just getting clicks. Is this the sort of seller who should be focused on pricing?
I don't know the size of the seller specifically, but we want to work with people who have 70% in stock for a specific product and at least selling 4 units a day. So the way that our algorithm is built and the way our model is built is very similar to Facebook, right? So Facebook, in order to get served information from Facebook or ads, it needs to know what you like. It needs to know your preferences, who you're connected with, where you're spending dwell time, what podcast. Same way, our model learns from making changes and from velocity. So the more velocity you have, the more we can chew on that and actually optimize on your behalf.
So more sales, more data, more likely so pricing. So we're looking at bigger sellers, not the just getting started launch products. Makes sense to me. And how do you begin to say, like, okay, what is my goal when I'm looking at a product? Let's do an actual case study if you've got one, Chad. I'll make one up on the fly if you like, or you can toss me one. What would you prefer?
Make it up on the fly. Let's wing it.
All right. So let's say we sell 2,000 units a month, and we're looking at a $25 item. Mm-hmm. And I come to you and I say, Chad, is my item priced for maximum profit? And I give you some constraints and tell you about my MOQs. I tell you about how I have to churn a certain number of units, but I'm thinking about raising my price, but I'm not sure if I can. what should I do?
And if you're going to do it manually?
We'll start manually and then we'll go
Okay.
with AI. That works.
All right. Yeah. So I would create a spreadsheet, and I would on this spreadsheet have, every ASIN have their own tab. And so you have your date, you have the current price, and you have the price that you believe that you should be moving it to in small increments. And I would also factor in other signals into the process. For example, your BSR for the product. I would do a reverse ASIN lookup and find your competitors for the product, factor in their price, do the 999 add to cart, get their inventory, understand your own inventory position. Also put in your ad spend for every single day of the process. So you're getting your net profit for every single day and looking at those price changes and annotating those changes. So now you're creating a discipline around analyzing pricing and seeing how small tweaks affect your the intention, which is for us to maximize profits, or how small tweaks affect your profit for a given ASIN.
So let's do a live demo of the 999 trick, because I think some people may not know about this. So I'm going to do a presentation. I'm going to share my screen. I love doing live demos. It's always fun. Let's do it live, as Bill
do it.
Said. All right, so let's go to one of my own products here. I've got a soap. I actually have no idea how many units I have going out with this. So walk me through this. So I hit add to cart.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's hit add to cart. We're going to go to the proceed to checkout page. Is that how this next works?
No, you just go to the cart.
Okay. All right. Let's go into the cart here. Let's make me log in. All right. So we're going to go back to the cart here, go back to Amazon, and we're going to go to the cart. Okay. So in here, what do I do?
10 plus.
I'm going to hit 10 plus.
999.
And then we're going to switch this to 999. And this is going to do what? Show me how many units are at FBA?
I believe so.
109 available. That means I've got 109 of these at FBA available for purchase right now. Could I buy all of these right now?
I don't know. I don't know if you set up limits on the back end.
I haven't. So, all right. So why would I want to know this information? Why does this help me price an item?
So it helps you understand excess surplus on the market. It's just supply demand. So you understand what's available in the market, especially if it's your number 2 or number 3 on page 1, and they run out of stock. Like you're in a better position to actually, you as a seller are in a better position to have pricing power.
So talk to me about pricing power. What do you mean by that? Does that mean if they have lots of product that I have less power?
So it means that if your competitors who you're competing head on whether it's PPC or whether it's organic, run out of product and you are competing against them in the top 3 spot, like you're going to be able to actually consume some of their market share that they've had.
And that means I can raise my price?
So the real question is, like, is raising price always the option, right? Because you can lower price, you can increase your velocity, and that increase in velocity and the profit you generate from lowering the price could offset your raise in price. Which is why
this is antithetical to what most people assume, right? So help me break that down a little bit.
Okay. So you need to make sure, like, let's just say you're at a higher price. So when you're testing a higher price, you need to ensure that a potential decrease in sales is compensated for a higher profit per unit. So when you're testing a lower price, you need to ensure that the loss of profit is compensated by a large enough increase in your sales unit velocity.
So does that mean I can go to my manufacturer and negotiate a lower rate and make up the profit that way? Or
the profit is made up by your increase. You spur more demand by lowering price. You spur more demand, right? That increases your velocity and that offsets a lower price.
Does that mean I can spend less on ads because I've got a higher velocity?
So that's the question, right? So now the question is, like, well, what happens to BSR? So do you have a better BSR, a lower BSR, right? Where you can actually increase your competitive positioning and then perhaps maybe increase your organic placement, right? Thus reducing PPC spend. There's a lot of nodes of this, and it's a lot to calculate because you probably have a lot of SKUs if you're listening to this call, and it's likely that there's a lot of value leakage because you just don't know how to price right.
All right, so we got Grigor coming in with a scenario. Hello, guys. Most Chinese sellers $5 to $6 less than me. However, I do own a good market share, being the most expensive. I just don't convert as good because of that. What should I do not to lower price?
So I would have to see. I mean, if you want to drop your ASIN in here, we can do a live look at the listing. But it sounds like you're actually doing well. You own a good amount of market share, being the most expensive. The question is does your listing reflect a premium listing? And what can you do to maximize conversion rate?
So as you go through these pricing models and you come back and say, hey, your conversion rate sucks, what should somebody do?
So if you're your driving sessions, you have a crappy conversion rate, which means probably you're leaving money on the table. You're not maximizing your profit for a specific ASIN. So, for us, what we control is we control price. Now, remember, we're working with some pretty large sellers, and so they're getting a lot of unit velocity. Like they're in harvest mode at this point. But there are probably small tweaks you can be making to the listing, right, to optimize it and increase the conversion rate for the listing.
All right, what's your favorite conversion improvement hack?
Conversion improvement hack. Okay. So I'll just share with you my own e-commerce business, right? So I built Profasee for my e-com business. You know about Crucial, and certainly the challenges I've had at Crucial, because I haven't given it the love that was required for a very long time. And when you don't put sunlight on a plant, it dies. And so I started giving this e-commerce brand some sunlight recently. And the first thing I did was like, hey, our listings are super dusty. We need to revive them. They only had 3 images and they're doing really well, but they're built in like 2012. So
that's a long time to not have sun on a plant.
Exactly. But you know what? The changes that we've made, both pricing and actually optimizing our listing, have created our first profitable month that we've had in net operating profit in the past 18 months. So whatever we're doing is working. So one thing that we did was
if you added more images to a listing and the sales went down, I would have a marketing heart attack. So
but it's not just sales, right? It's actually profitable sales that I care about. Like I actually just post on LinkedIn a whole thing of how I just pruned 70% of my catalog. Like I just destroyed. I searched and destroyed inventory.
Like physically destroyed, you had a bonfire and said bon voyage, or liquidated? What did you do?
Yeah, so in the e-commerce world, yes. So I tried to liquidate it, and you know that you're in a really crappy part of the market when even liquidators won't touch your product.
Well, my experience with liquidators is they want to give you a penny on the dollar. So yeah.
You might as well just pull up a dump truck and drop it in, and that's exactly what we did. We dumped in 70%, and essentially by doing that, it opens up so many more opportunities when you let go of things.
You ever heard of the concept burn your ships?
Yeah, I love that. Love that story.
Yeah.
Good.
And
sure.
So a captain of a ship, he lands in the new world with his people back in the day when it was a new world to land. And everybody gets off the ship. And the first thing he did is he freaking burned his ships and said, guys, we're stuck here. Make it work. Mm-hmm. By sending the signal that they can't go back, they must be successful. So Chad, congratulations. You just burned your ships.
I did. And it's had a massive positive impact so far. And it's just one data point, right? So that was December. I'll get my January numbers probably in the second week of February, maybe sooner if I push my controller. But whatever we're doing, we have one data point, it's working, and I'm looking forward to the trend. All
right. So sometimes you got to burn your ships to figure that out. Mm-hmm. Ray F weighs in here. He says he must increase value. So do value conversations come up when you're talking about pricing?
I think the answer is it's really about value leakage, right? Value leakage comes up because most brands know that they're just doing this when they're coming up with price. They're just marketing it to the market. They're doing their competitive research, and they're like, oh, this guy is $10. We have to be at $9.95. And the key is the 95 cents, right, to win market share. And that's not always the right decision. So yeah, value comes up all the time. And we always start with, well, if you're already selling, you're selling like crazy. Like we're working with sellers that are doing at least 2 million, sometimes 1 million in revenue, but all the way up. You already have some serious hero products that you're leaving money on the table for. And we identify that value leakage. We dynamically change price. It's almost like Uber surge pricing, right? You've taken Ubers before or Lyft, or you've stayed in an Airbnb. Well, all those price changes are driven based on dynamic pricing. But Amazon brands haven't been leveraging this technology at all, yet it is the most commoditized marketplace to make those changes.
Why is Amazon a commoditized marketplace?
So if you look at what's happened on Amazon specifically, is that people used to on Amazon search for noise canceling headphones, or not noise canceling, excuse me, Sony or Bose noise canceling headphones. And I think what you've seen is a shift in the past decade, which has enabled the private label movement to start, which is people are searching the generic word. 70% of searches on Amazon are actually searches for the generic word of noise canceling headphones or garlic press, and they've disintermediated the brand from the actual search term.
So there's too many products? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that when I'm talking about commoditization, right? Like typically there's not a lot of brand follow. I mean, I guess you probably could if you're buying toilet paper, right? Toilet paper, maybe you prefer Charmin over something else. I don't even know what other brands exist out there, but you're searching toilet paper, right? So 70% of searches, and this is based on, I think Marketplace Pulse had a blog post about this. 70% of searches on Amazon are the generic keyword, not the actual brand.
So Amazon has killed brands unless you're a luxury brand. And people don't even remember the name of the brand that they purchased, right? So if I were to quiz 100 random people and I say, what was the last item you bought on Amazon? And they said, oh, I bought this gadget, I bought socks, whatever. I bet you less than 3 out of 100 people could name the brand that they purchased on Amazon.
I would agree with that.
Unless it was a luxury brand. So I agree with you. Amazon's killed brands. It's commoditized now. So is that why it's always just about pricing and reviews and maybe a main image?
Yeah, precisely. I think it's just about that. Now, if you can build a product that receives a lot of brand love, and this is what AI can't do, right? How can you as a brand build a human connection, a one-to-one connection with your customer where they become evangelical about what you're building? Then I think you're onto something, right? And so if you think about, I don't know, I'm thinking about like brands that I love right now in my own house. I love Nest. I love my Nest thermostat, right? I like that it knows when I'm home and it adjusts the temperature and it learns from what I like, and it just works for me. So that's just like one example of someone who you would search based on the brand, or I would search based on the brand, not just based on thermostat. Although I'm sure there's a lot of people searching for thermostat.
Household name. I'm sure that's why billion-dollar companies have gobbled up products like Nest. All right. Raya asks, hi, I'm launching my first product. Top seller's average price is $30. I'm giving a bundle, so my good price is $36. So my question is, should I go below 30 for a launch period?
Steve, I might let you take this. So Profasee, our focus, and where I've spent most of my time, is how to harvest profit, right? You're leaving money on the table. How do you make more?
I'll go ahead and answer this one. Yes, 100%. You need to do that. When you're launching a product, you need to get sales to generate sales. It's a weird phrase to toss around, but you need sales to get sales on Amazon. Well, what's the best way to get sales? Offer substantial discounts and value in the first 2 weeks, maybe even the first 30 days, what we call the honeymoon period. So if you guys want to check more about launch strategy, Google honeymoon, my Amazon guy. And I've got this really lengthy period video where I walk through that full thing, soup to nuts. But yes, without a doubt in my mind, Raf, you need to lower the price as you go through that. All right, Chad, you've been a seller for a very long time on the Amazon platform. What have you learned over the past decade?
A lot of learnings. I mean,
you can start with a failure if you want. That'd be fine.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, I would say let's look at a mistake, right? Which is actually an opportunity, which is I was building my e-commerce brand and then started Stubana at the same time, And Stubana for me, right? So what's the learning there is like, I'm not a great parallel entrepreneur building two things at the same time. And I didn't have the right integrator to sort of roll up their sleeves and like run my business in the most appropriate way possible to maximize value. So that's an opportunity and a learning at the same time, which is like split focus is the death of an entrepreneur. For me specifically, that's one I can share with you at the gate.
So I'm going for vertical control, and I have my focus split in 8 different directions. And I know the pains that you're speaking about. And it's like, how do you do time management? How do you invest dollar management, people hiring, pulling resources from one piece of chaos to another? It takes a lot of sandbox management. All right. So that was one thing that you learned. You learned that you prefer solo focus. Makes sense to me. And
well, actually, it's not just solo focus. It's actually focusing your attention, and I did this, on the thing that's going to maximize the outcome for your family and create generational wealth. Right.
I like that. Generational wealth. Sign me up. I'm making a brand for every one of my children. I've got Age of Sage for my daughter, making a bunch of other things in the works right now. So I want to hand off 16 years from now, several of my brands to my children. So that'll be fun. We'll see what happens. That means I'm going to have a very different mentality when I'm selling my products on Amazon, right? Like I'm thinking to the future. I'm thinking in the course of a couple of decades. Some Amazon sellers might just be thinking about putting food on the table next week and trying to keep the product on. So very different methodologies that could be used.
Yeah, I mean, another methodology is like if you could take some money off the table, right, on those brands, and you could diversify. So I was recently listening to this amazing podcast with this guy Peter Zeihan and Joe Rogan, and they went on an off tangent topic. I'm gonna bring it full circle, which is cartels, Mexican cartels that are criminal organizations diversified. So initially they started off in the drug trade, and they actually moved into getting into limes and lemons and shipping and garbage removal. And so that helped them pivot, but also helped them diversify their basket for future generations.
Where have we seen that playbook before? Cartels taking over garbage delivery in New York City. All right. Hopefully the government doesn't get any ideas about diversifying its control mechanisms. All right. So getting back to pricing, first we got a comment from Trace. Great to see you, Stephen. Thanks for sharing your knowledge, Chad. It's our pleasure. We always love doing this. If you got a pricing question today, we have a world-leading expert on pricing. You notice I keep playing devil's advocate with Chad here as I'm like poking him around because I'm like, his model is super complicated and I'm like trying to dumb it down to a bumper sticker. And he's like, I can't do it. Don't make me do it. But if you had to, Chad, what would be the bumper sticker of changing prices on Amazon?
Bumper sticker, the perfect price at the perfect time.
Does it exist?
Yeah, it does exist.
So why is it so hard to find?
Well, there's too many signals on Amazon. There's too much noise. And it takes too much time and effort to actually go and change pricing and then learn from those changes. Like that's the beauty of AI, right? And we haven't even gotten into AI, and I don't know your thesis on AI specifically, but AI can accomplish.
A long way. I mean, ChatGPT, holy crap, that's a world-changing AI release. World-changing AI. And we haven't even seen the good stuff yet. Wait until 4.0 comes out. Oh my goodness, that's going to be good. I've got that connected into my Slack. I've got my whole team using it. Wow. So yeah, let's jump into AI. Always good to listen to Chad. Keep sharing your knowledge, says Ali. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Ali.
Chad, tell me about AI and pricing. How does this work?
So there's a massive amount of data, a treasure trove of data on Amazon that is at your fingertips. Now, Amazon's using a lot of this, but brands historically have not. Now, there's a few aggregators that are, but they have the deepest pockets to make this happen, to use AI to take insights and learn, or take data, create insights and use those insights to make decisions. So that's the next wave, is using insights to make decisions. A lot of times you use these like listing tools, right, or keyword tools, and they just like throw so much information at you that you don't even actually know.
Overload.
Exactly.
Data
Overanalysis paralysis.
paralysis.
Totally.
And so like Amazon sellers who eat tenacity and grit for dinner, when they look at this amount of treasure trove of data, they usually just say, yeah, I'm good.
Totally.
I'm not going in for dessert on this one. So why should they?
Well, no, I'm not saying that they should, actually. I think that the beautiful thing about AI is it can actually like take the noise and succinctly deliver it to you on a platter, right? In a way that a human cannot. So I recently made this post about reviews and essentially summarizing reviews, the positives and the negatives, and then taking the negatives and turning them to positive feature benefit statements for a listing. Like that in itself would have taken me such a long time to do, right? So like AI as a broad category, it's faster than us, right? It's cheaper than us, and it'll make less mistakes than we do. And on top of that, it's capable of self-improvement. It evolves. It observes, it experiments and evolves and learns from its failures and improves very, very quickly. And in an Amazon world where things expire in seconds, this is a competitive advantage.
That does sound like a competitive advantage because back in the day, you could just get a gold box deal and sign up for something and burn through some inventory. But today, you can't even talk to an Amazon seller support rep on the phone and have a good conversation.
Totally.
Man, we had a viral post on LinkedIn. If you guys haven't seen that one for Monday, I basically told Amazon how to solve seller support by firing the entire staff and resetting and totally breaking the methodology. So
I
check
love
that
that.
out.
That was a great post, by the way.
Yeah, I wrote that on Saturday, drifting off to a nap, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really pissed off at seller support for whatever reason at that time, and I wrote that out. So then I asked somebody, I was like, should I edit this? And they're like, no, it's perfect. You sure I should mention Elon Musk? Yep, definitely do it. So I did. All right. Hello. Can you give me advice? I launched a product 6 months ago, ran out of stock for 2 months, lost the rank. What can I do? And Chad, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, you can take it. Maybe I'll add an exclamation mark to it.
Okay. So what I would say is just treat it like a product launch, right? When you come back in stock, that first 72 hours, churn through as many units as you can. It'd be okay to go at a slight discount when you first launch it back, but get to that price parity as quickly as you can. Heavy PPC. Remember, the number one cardinal rule on Amazon, never go out of stock. And number two rule is like the first, no, seriously, never go out of stock. So if you do go out of stock, you have to treat it like a honeymoon period. It will take you probably 6 weeks to get back to the parity you had prior to going out of stock. And that's usually generally an average case scenario. What do you think, Chad? What would you add?
I think you got it on lock.
Amar says, hi, good to see you guys. Good to see you too, Amar. All right, Chad. So what do you think is going to change in 2023? Like what should people be paying attention to? Obviously AI. What else?
I think AI, I would probably say that metrics are going to change. Like your North Star of your business may evolve over time. So we've just entered, we've departed a beautiful period in e-commerce that we unlikely will ever see again, where it was growth at all costs. And I think we're moving into a period at
That's my
growth
cup
at.
of tea, by the way. I freaking love that tea so much. I love growth at all costs.
Is that a T?
I don't know, but it should be because that's what I drink every day, and it's water. I don't even drink tea, but
Nice.
but what I'm saying is like the opposite of growth to me is damnation, right? Like not even death. It's worse than death. The absence of growth is damnation. So I love growth at all costs, but now, go ahead and take the realism element here a little bit. It's no longer growth at all costs, is it? Very different cup of Joe.
Yeah, it's a very different cup of coffee. And like we've seen a shift in mindset to growing at growing profitably at the lowest cost. And so I think AI will be part of that to reduce cost structure. There's a lot of parity that's happening overseas, specifically right now, as like finding really cheap assistants or cheap people to do things is no longer a viable option. And I think the other piece is like moving towards profitable growth. And so, for example, like you talked about PPC very quickly. I think using, and you may disagree, by the way, and it's likely you'll disagree on this, but like I'm shifting perspective around ACOS right now. ACOS has been this efficiency metric that everybody and their grandmother uses on Amazon. And again, I think I've shared this earlier, it's just really part of the story, right? It's not the whole story. And it's where I'm spending a significant amount of time. So I'm looking at profit on ad spend, POAS.
POAS, all right. Profit on ad spend. Okay. I want to hear more about this. Why did you come to this conclusion? And then we've got a ACOS question that will be topical here.
So I think ACOS is easier for agencies to manage, right? And you give them a target number, and out they do their work, and they are like, okay, we're hitting this ACOS, right? And there's other challenges I have with agencies, which I think I've shared with you and I've posted about. But just looking at ACOS specifically, it's incentivizing not necessarily the optimal and the right behavior.
Why?
Again, it's just efficiency. It's only part of the story. You can actually increase your pricing. Let's just say you're at $25 and you increase your price to 30, right? I think that's a 20% increase. And then you take your ACOS and you go from 25% to 30%, which is also a 20% increase in ACOS. You'll actually produce 50% more EBITDA on the bottom line just by making those changes.
Okay, this is going to blow somebody's mind. This is going to be the big takeaway of the podcast. I can just feel it. So why is that 50% EBITDA? Help me out. Dumb it down for me.
Well, I mean, you take your increase in price, and you have your ACOS, and then you have your gross profit, right? So you essentially have your gross profit after all your Amazon fees, and then you have your EBITDA at the bottom line, your net profit. And
let's put this into a Google sheet. So I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to pull it in. And if you prefer to share your screen, we can. All right. So in here, tell me what to do. So we're going to have.
Actually, I have a good. I feel like I have a good sheet for you right here. I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Can I share my screen through here?
Go. Yep. Go ahead. Hit the bottom middle share screen button.
Hold on. Let me find it real quick. I'm going to pull
this
up.
While Chad's doing that, I'll take a question from the chat here. How to decide if a product is profitable to sell or not when you don't know about product sourcing costs? That one's a little rough. I think you go get a quote from some sourcing agents. Probably 3 quotes and 3 samples is what I would recommend. And that'd be worthwhile. All right. Chad's ready for us.
Do you see my screen or no?
We do.
So this is what I was just referencing, right? So why don't you break it down?
So we got a $25 versus $30 base costs. And what's this word Profasee? How did you even come up with that name, by the way?
Profasee, well, it's biblical, and essentially it's predicting into the future with a level of certainty. So we are constantly predicting what the optimal price should be to maximize your profit. And after staring at a tree and spending a lot of time right before taking a nap, this idea hit me.
Can I give you a joke that I think you'll appreciate?
Yeah.
All right. When's the only time a Mormon bets?
Where?
When there's a profit involved. I made that joke, by the way.
Nice. I like it.
That's actually my own joke. And there is a prophet in our church. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a lot of business guys in our faith. And of course, you always want to get a prophet with an F instead of a PH. Nice. I like both. But all right. So going to the Profasee right here, you triggered me when I read it. So we got 2 scenarios. ACOS goes up, and you got a 20% delta. I'm good so far. So first 2 rows, I'm with you. This makes sense. Mm-hmm. But the profit after ACOS, row 3, this is where the magic changes. And by the way, your EBITDA column, I would probably not do white on green. Hard to read that. I have a color theory video you can watch next. Just type in color my Amazon guy. Okay. I walk you through that. All right. So walk me through row 3 here. Why am I seeing such a difference on the profit?
Well, you've increased your price, which has altered the ACOS. And I think it's easier if I put this into a spreadsheet. But ACOS is what you spend to what you make, right? So they're not as efficient with what they're spending, but price went up, and therefore you're left with more profit dollars.
So I agree, spreadsheet might help, but keep this on screen. But if we pull out a calculator and we do 25% times $25, that's $625.
Mm-hmm.
But if we do 30%, 0.3 times 30, that's $9. So how am I making more money with a higher ACOS?
Well, you've increased your price.
Yes, I see that. And by the way, I actually follow the math entirely, but I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. So how is it that I could have a higher ACOS and make more money though?
If you can have a higher ACOS and make more money because you've increased your pricing.
And
the ratio of price to spend, right? Essentially, it's just an efficiency metric, right? So everyone's, like I said, everyone's targeting this ACOS percentage metric. And maybe I'm not getting to the question that you're asking. If you want, you can let me know what am I missing and fill in the blanks.
I want you to dumb it down. We increase the price in such a way that we're making more profit. The difference in the sales price is larger than the increase in ad spend. I think that's what I'm looking for. So that way, if somebody watching this can understand that and follow it. Now, as you go down the chart here, shipping's the same. Amazon fees with the 15% referral fees, a little bit different. But then we get down to the EBITDA. I think most people don't understand how EBITDA is calculated. So why is it 50% higher in column 2?
In the Profasee column, it's 50% higher because, well, you had that increase in price. You become less efficient on your spend, but all that's trickling down from the top, from the revenue. And you're left with, if you look at the Amazon fees, for example, they've slightly went up, but not so much, and shipping stays the same. So you're reaching more economies of scale, and you're increasing your net profit at the business.
And why is having a higher EBITDA valuable? Why would an Amazon seller care?
I actually have another slide for that. If you want, I can share.
Sure. Yeah, and if you need to navigate off screen, go ahead. Yep, no problem. Okay. So I like bringing things from the clouds down to the weeds and then back up to the clouds. That's kind of my style here as we're going through. Because then it helps understand the whys and the actual aspects and the outcomes here. All right, so while Chad's pulling that up, I'm looking at the chat here. We've got a couple of good pricing questions we'll hit next. Got an out of stock question. We'll go here first. If I run out of stock in the future, can I close the listing? Yes. It's not necessary, but you can. When it's back in stock, open the listing again. Go have on PPC. Yes. So the reason why I don't close the listing myself is because I like to sell those returns. If that return product comes back in, I can resell it. Or maybe Amazon had some in reserved and it comes out of reserved and it can be sold. You can close a listing, but I don't recommend it. I'd rather lose some BSR and sell and get the actual money out of the business than to try and sell out at higher velocity. So that's a preference standpoint for me. All right, Chad's ready for quick.
I like what you just shared, which is you're talking about you're okay selling at a lower velocity because you're generating more profit dollars out of the business, right? That to me stuck with me.
That's the theme of your company, so it makes sense. All right, so let's walk me through EBITDA.
So we were just talking about the power of pricing, right? And so EBITDA, I guess really, this is a garlic press. Don't worry about the product. It could be any product really, right? And this is me just saying, hey, let's increase the pricing, right? So $14.97 to $15.97. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it's the optimal price, but just thinking about the impact on the business, that dollar impact is a 12% increase for this one SKU in profit, which means it's $3,400 increase in monthly profits on a monthly basis, which if you annualize that, right, it's just north of 40K. And then you generate a multiple on that, which creates the enterprise value of your business, which is increasing the value of someone that's willing to buy your company. And so this is just a very, I would say, rudimentary example, but a great example of the power of pricing and the effect on your profit of the company, your EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, and you apply a conservative 4x multiple on that. Well, I don't know where the multiples stand right now in the Amazon FBA exit world.
Somewhere between 3.5 and 4 is pretty standard. I'd say probably closer to 3.5 at the very second.
Okay. Yeah. And so that's just like the simple power of pricing.
So $163,000 more in the pocket when somebody sells a brand based on a change in fee by $1.
Correct.
How about that, folks? What do you guys think? That's pretty cool.
Now, the question is, why is nobody doing it, right?
Because it takes an hour to understand it. That's why. Which is why we did a podcast today to dive into it, because nobody's talking about it. All right, let's go back to Trace's question. At what ACOS would you start to cut keywords for a 1-year-old listing? Some are around 40%, and it's hard for me to decide to cut them. Already lowered bids way down. Now, I know you're going to indict this question, so feel free.
You want me to take this question?
I want you to. I figured you were going to indict it and say this question is flawed based on your.
Well, I mean, it's flawed based on what I've shared earlier, which is like if your KPI is ACOS, you're looking at this from the wrong perspective, right? For me, my intention is to maximize profit for me and my family, for my business, and so we don't really care about what the ACOS is, what the target is. Right. So at 40%, you might be actually better off at 45% and changing your price, and you can actually make a whole lot more money in the business and redeploy those dollars into another listing on Amazon.
And we're going to get this question over and over, because even after explaining the EBITDA and looking at those two scenarios, it still doesn't quite connect for everybody. Why do you think that is?
Oh, man.
And I knew if you knew the answer to that question, you'd have millions of dollars in your bank account from selling the answer to the question, of course.
But I want to be careful to say that it's a useful metric, right? It's a efficiency metric. It's a useful metric. Everyone's been programmed, for lack of a better word, around ACOS, right? And Amazon even uses the ACOS methodology, right? But essentially, what I'm encouraging people is to have a paradigm shift in their perspective, to talk about profitability and aligning ACOS to your profitability. So that's my perspective on. I'm curious your perspective why people haven't rallied around a different metric or profitability or EBITDA. Do you have a perspective on? I'm sure you do.
Well, yes, I do. It's basically, I've lived in the SEO world for a very long time, and trying to explain SEO strategy to companies is very similar to explaining profit scenarios. With PPC and ACOS, you can basically run a math formula that anybody in the world can understand. Spend $1, get $1, run the math. In the SEO world, it's like explaining sunk cost methods. If you put in X dollars, it will produce Y, but you can't track it. You won't know. And it will take 6 months to fill it. Right. And so in the TikTok world, where attention spans are 5 seconds, which of the two are most CEOs and leaders going to bite on? They're going to go with the PPC, easy dollar in, easy dollar out, versus that profit scenario where people are thinking long term, right? By the way, Chad, have you read Simple Numbers 2.0? It's written by an EO guy. I think you'd love that book. He always talks about using cash basis on scenarios running your business and going for profit and paying lots of taxes. So you might want to check that one out. I think you might enjoy it. But that's my take. I think that's why it's so complicated to win that conversation. Mike asked a really good question here. Those examples that you shared, Chad, are they assuming the product is price elastic and demand does not change with price?
So demand absolutely changes with price. Our model thinks about the change in demand with price. And so our model takes into account elasticity of a product. But it's actually a bigger question, because it's not just whether your product has change in price changes the demand in the product, but it's also there are substitutes for a specific keyword, and there's this knock-on effect on Amazon, which is the quote-unquote flywheel, right? And so a price change today affects your order and the magnitude of orders tomorrow. And so that actually enhances how challenging this problem is that we're solving. because the change that you make isn't happening in a vacuum. Like if you had your own owned organic storefront on Shopify, you can change your price and it doesn't matter because you have an ad that's showing up on Instagram or Facebook and you're not competing for other people for that space. Whereas on Amazon, it's a massive ecosystem and everything is driven based on a keyword that affects it. So a quick answer to your question is we are definitely using elasticity in our model, and we're using a whole lot of other signals in the model to enhance the outcome for our brands.
Sounds like a soup with lots of ingredients. Ruff says, okay, I'm late. I'm going to go back to the beginning. There's a lot of stuff to take in with this. I get it, Ruff. I'm working with limited inventory until orders come in March. So this is really something I need to focus on. I think Chad's going to nod his head on this one. And okay. Yeah, you want to finish reading it? Go ahead. I too am a nonverbal processor.
Okay.
Trey says, understood. Well, expert pricing increases lowered bottom line. Price point seems to be where customers are comfortable purchasing. So there is a diminishing return on elasticity, is there not?
There is, certainly. So that you give us the bounds and we'll make the changes. But just because your price is a certain point today doesn't mean it should be that tomorrow, right? The same way that when you book an Uber, pricing for an Uber in the morning at 5 a.m. is very different from rush hour at 6 p.m. And then if you just use the idea of how much is a slice of pizza as an example? Well, there's a lot of things that happen in your mind right now when you think about the price of pizza, right? So you could think, okay, well, I love quesadilla pizza, and I know that in college I used to spend.
All I know is I'm really hungry, and I would love to eat a slice of pizza right
and
now.
And I'm in a fasted state too, by the way, right now.
Oh, nice. Have you doing dry fasting?
No, just fasting.
Okay. Yeah. Phoenix Protocol, one of my favorite books on dry fasting. Plug that. I have a video on dry fasting if anybody's curious.
Nice. I actually have not done a dry fast yet. I had lemon water today that I made myself and coffee.
Yeah, the theory behind it is to get the insulin out so you can reactivate some cells in the body. But that's a story for another time. I have a better question for you, Chad. Pineapple or no pineapple on your pizza?
I am not a huge pineapple fan, but I bet you it's delicious. I know people that put pickle juice on their pizza. So
I can't say I've ever heard of pickle juice before. I'm a Hawaiian. I love Canadian bacon, pineapple, and red onion together. That's a good one. All right, guys, tell us what your favorite pizza is in the comment section. Pineapple hater or lover? Let's hear what you guys have to say.
So the question is like, what's a reasonable price for pizza? Right. And your answer might be different than mine based on geographic location, based on your preferences. If you like pineapple or pickle juice on it, or what toppings, what's your income, what's the opportunity cost? Maybe there's a burrito shop that's down the block. What's your budget for, what's your framework for a budget? What are other alternatives, like other factors, your diet, right? Like for me, I'm in a fasted state right now. Like pizza to me is worthless, right? Because I don't want to eat it currently. Did I have pizza when I proposed to my wife? Like that would be a memory that I would share with her. So there's all these other factors that come into play when you talk about price perception. But sure, when you come into Profasee, you put your min on it, you put your min price, you put your landed cost, you put your match price if you have one, and we work our magic to figure out what is the optimal price. But there's so many variables at play when it comes to even just price perception. Like we lean on our model very heavy to optimize the outcome that we're working towards.
Finn asks, should I expect a higher ACOS when launching a seasonal product out of season before it starts? What's the best time to launch a seasonal product? So I'm going to be a contrarian on this one. I actually think the best time to launch the seasonal product is basically the first day of the month where it's in season. So for example, today it's February 1st. If you have a Valentine's Day product, there is no better day in the entire year to launch it than today. There is a magic switch that just flips on for seasonal products. The second the day changes, you'll see it. I have proof in the pudding on this one. I sold a Mother's Day kit item. The first time I got a sale on it was basically May 1st. and I sold $144,000 in the first 30 days going into Mother's Day. So I think it's totally possible to sell seasonal products at the last second. Just got to be at FBA. That's for sure. Chad, any flavor on your side? Maybe a little lemon juice on this one?
I mean, I sell commoditized products, and we launch all the time, so they're not necessarily so seasonal. Although in the winter they do better, the filter products. But yeah, I mean, we launch the second we get them in stock. So I guess it's just different strokes for different folks, maybe.
Makes sense to me. All right, so Chad, we've had a podcast today about pricing. Is there anything else you guys you want people to know about before we wrap up today? Any closing message?
Closing message would be to just create a discipline around pricing, whether you use Profasee or you're interested in Profasee. Really make it a priority internally, to just the same way that you look at your ad spend internally and you work to optimize that and reduce wasted spend. I would make a concerted effort internally to focus on price and figure out what the optimal price is and make changes to pricing and see how the market reacts to those price changes.
And Chad, if somebody wants to get in touch with you or Profasee, where should they go?
Personal email address is chad@profasee.com. Check out Profasee. I'm on LinkedIn, trying to post interesting nuggets all the time. I just recently, just before joining this podcast, just posted one on pruning inventory. Like I said, I've been really participating in a turnaround for my ecom business, and I'm sharing those nuggets on LinkedIn and also on Twitter.
Well thought out, by the way. Well thought out posts.
Thank you.
I know that Chad's not using Chat GPT to post on LinkedIn. So, all right. Well, thank you for coming on the My Amazon Guy podcast today, Chad, to talk about pricing and to go into the weeds with us, as well as into the clouds and back. We'll have you on again in the future. Check him out, Chad Rubin, over at Profasee. And thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That's our podcast today. I will be back tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time and every Thursday for the most part. We'll be taking a 2-episode break in the middle of February, however, traveling to see some of my colleagues down in the Philippines. But if you guys want to join us tomorrow and come in and ask me questions on camera, Thursday at noon, be here on StreamYard, watch it on YouTube Live. Look forward to seeing you then. It's not me against you, other Amazon seller, other Amazon agency. It's all of us against Amazon. Thanks for watching.